This is out here headbutting Michigan Wolverines, but of course we start with Dame Dollar. 61 points and the big win. Jalen, let's celebrate Dame against the Mavs.
I tried to tell you guys this gentleman was special at playing basketball. He been doing this since day one. The Portland Trail Blazers have been in the playoffs every year except his rookie season. I remember early when the Warriors were on their dynastic-type runs, he was giving them buckets. How about how he shot down the Houston Rockets, game-winning 3, eliminated them from the playoffs? Same with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, broke up Russ and PG. Look at that over Chandler Parsons. That broke the play, Jacoby. That was not even the call in the huddle. This changes careers. You see Dwight Howard in the Rockets uniform. You see Paul George in an OKC uniform. This changes real estate agents on the phone and trying to figure out situations for pros. Dame Dollar, Mama's Boys, Logo Lillard has done that. Putting up 50s, putting up 60s, waving bye-bye. I'm just saying, dog, he's an elite performer. Pay attention.
He really is. He really is an elite performer. 3 60-point games all this season. And he said before he went down to the bubble that he just needs a chance. Just give him a chance. If he's going to go down there, give him a chance to make the playoffs. They did, and it really looks like he is going to make the playoffs. But I was so happy for him watching this game and watching this magnificent historical performance. And then after the game, we all seen it by now. He did this. Just look at the attitude. Look at the scowl. Jalen, very simple question. You just won the game, dog. Why are you so mad?
Because he slept on. And Jacoby, he didn't choose to join a super team. He got drafted by Portland. You know this as a great producer in the game over 20 years. The only way we're going to talk about them is if they balling. Okay? And he's been able to lead them to the playoffs. They made the Western Conference Finals. They're a team that when you look in the rearview mirror at an AFC, you're like, wait a minute, the Lakers got to play them in the first round? It's like, wait, hold on. Like, hold on.
Like, we're the number one. I thought we were the number one seed, and that was Dame time?
I want to see it. LeBron better get on the phone with Avery Bradley.
He's on the phone. We got people at Avery Bradley's house, texts, emojis, DMs, phone calls.
For real,
LeBron got a private plane in Avery Bradley's driveway right now. Like, listen, I'm not saying you have to come, but I'm saying if you do want to come, my plane is waiting outside your house. It'll take you directly to Orlando where you can get a COVID test and get on the court. You know that is the case. I love Dame so much. Not only did he play his way potentially into the playoffs last night, but I think he might have played his way into something else. We learned that the NBA is going to be giving away sort of bubble awards. Just for these 88 games, sort of MVP awards for the bubble. Jalen, who do you have as your Orlando MVP?
I wish that they would give some special off-wax awards like receive the best video via DM or sent out the best video on Twitter. You know, got the best response from a celebrity in the bubble. I wish those were the type of award.
Longest FaceTime call in the bubble. And the annual Lou Will Lemon Pepper Award.
But I feel like Dame MVP, no doubt about it. I mean, what Portland needs to get done, he's delivering. He came on this show and told us. Like, people are saying what he was talking about, what he was going to do when he got to the bubble. Well, he said that on this show. And shout out to TJ Warren, who had been averaging 20 all year, and all of a sudden the pandemic hit and the world stopped and started paying attention to him, and he erupted for big numbers. And how about Gary Trent Jr. under the radar, not MVP like old bubble type conversation, but man, his productivity has been something that they've really needed for that squad. And how about the undefeated Phoenix Suns?
That's the thing. They always say MVP. MVP, they always say best player, best team. And if you look at that, best team, undefeated Suns, best player, Devin Booker. I had Devin Booker as my MVP, but that was before Dame scored 61. For real. I mean, averaging over 30, 6 assists a game. I mean, he's led the best player. He's been the best player on the best team in the regular season, in the bubble. However, this is Dame Lillard's award, and he is going to win it, and he is going to make the playoffs, and he is going to give the Lakers problems, and I can't wait for it. Moving on to who will likely be this year's actual regular season MVP, a gentleman by the name of Giannis Antetokounmpo. They have locked in the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They're just out there tuning up, getting rhythm, getting ready for the playoffs for their first 1-8 matchup against the Magic. And wait a second. Ooh, something happened against the Wizards, who have nothing to play for. Last night, there's a little back and forth between him and your Michigan Wolverine brethren, Maurice Wagner. And then, wait, was that did he just, they're talking a little bit. And then Giannis just straight up comes over and headbutts him. Just headbutts him. Wagner sells it a little bit. Jalen, is this a key to sort of getting into Giannis's head over the course of a 7-game series? We've seen him go back and forth with a couple hold-me-back moments in the bubble. Can opposing teams use this against him?
That's just a precursor to possibly seeing a lot more WWE on ESPN. And we love that. You see Giannis auditioning, getting his Gronk on. How about this? When you're the back-to-back MVP, I like the fact that you're so very intense that the Washington Wizards can get you so emotionally invested that you would want to do that to any one of their players when you guys are playing for way different goals. But at the same time, you can't be doing this, big fella. No. Anything can happen. Okay, you headbutting somebody. What if you would have got a little knot? What if it would have caused some blood? Like, anything could have become a recurrent injury. Like, you got to hold the big fella accountable, and he can't be making decisions like that, especially at this point of the season.
I'm going to do the media thing and take this too far, Jalen. A couple things could happen. You're talking about potentials. Let's say he headbutts. Let's say Mo Wagner punches him back, and then Giannis feels obligated. Next thing you know, you're in a scrum. You're suspended for a couple playoff games. And one of the greatest things that LeBron James did in that magical run to beat the 73-win Warriors in Game 7 was make Draymond Green punch him in the junk. LeBron did that. He stepped over him intentionally, knowing that Draymond Green was an emotional, fiery player, and he used that to his advantage. Potentially, if I was an opposing coach on an opposing team, I'd throw in my backup center, my backup power forward, and say, listen, get into it with Giannis. Use that to your advantage. Maybe get him suspended for a game. Maybe get him kicked out of a game like he got kicked out of this one. This is something that I got my eye on moving forward because he is that intense and he is that good that you have to use these kind of dirty tricks against him and the Bucks. I can't wait for that to happen. But, Jalen, I saw a tweet from Woj, and I said, Jalen's got to take us behind the curtain on this one. Let's go behind. There was a memo sent around the league, and it was detailed by our guy, Adrian Wojnarowski. Shout out to Woj. And this was the part that I really wanted to discuss with you. He talked about the people that are eligible to come to the bubble. Quote, any individual the player has not previously met in person or with whom the player has had limited in-person interactions, for example, known by the player only through social media or an intermediary. These are the people that will be allowed to visit players in the bubble and become quarantined themselves. There's going to be 17 guest hotel rooms that I hope they clean often because let's be honest, there's families and there's conjugal visits. So, Jalen, take us behind the curtain. How are players going to use this sort of, visitation protocol?
First and foremost, behind the curtain, and you know this because you stay in a lot of hotels, they don't change that top sheet. Always remember, they don't change that top sheet. That's really important. That's knowledge I want to give you. But here's the thing, Jacoby. I love the NBA so much because of the transparency, the leadership, the organization, and the planning. You don't want players having to go out and chase the fun. You want it to be able to come to them. And in the bylaws, if you had a magnifying glass and looked a little bit closer, it basically just says if the person is willing, if the person has a pulse, if the person has limbs, if the person can walk, if the person can get through COVID-19 protocol, they're welcome. They're welcome. I don't care if you're married to them. I don't care if you met them on social media. It don't even matter. As long as they're a human being, they're welcome. And I appreciate that so very much.
I feel like the next update is going to be like, not only are we testing for COVID-19 with our players, we're adding to the things that we'll be testing for. Once we have these visitation rules in play, we'll be testing for a lot more than COVID-19 just to ensure the safety of our players. And I don't think that these sort of visitors understand how rigorous this bubble is. Like, you have to go there, you have to get tested, you have to get quarantined, you have to wait around and watch all the movies in your hotel room before you even get to lay eyes and other things on the player that you came to visit. Oh, can't wait for the updates on this one. There's going to be some very upset actual wives and some of the visitation policies that are in place on some teammates of their husbands. Moving on. We're all celebrating Dame, but let's not forget about the Suns. The Suns remain undefeated. They went up against the Sixers yesterday, and Devin Booker stays hot. Suns are 7-0. What do you think about the Suns?
I like how they've opened up the floor and it's unlocked this game. You see how he's crawling right there on the pick and roll action, putting the defender on his back, finishing with the left. He's always been a knockdown shooter, whether it's off the dribble or off the catch. But that's the improvement of his game. A lot more drives to the basket. And you see that dunk with the left? Did you see that, Jacoby? Normally guys that shoot with that level of accuracy and have that type of handle, but plus can get you buckets, don't go to the hole and dunk like that with their left hand. Yeah. Like his game it has really expanded to the point where he's the lead dog. He's the Dame Lillard in Portland on the rise. And so for all of the thoughts of he would end up better somewhere else, and my brother Draymond Green alluded to that on TNT, I disagree. I feel like he has the potential to lift that franchise based on the way he's playing.
Yeah, the front office in Phoenix has made some mistakes over the years, but they've also hit on a couple over the years. And you've got Ayton down there, Cam Johnson playing well in the bubble. You've got Booker down there. There's Mikal Bridges. There's players that you can build around. So we'll see what happens with them next year. But they're not done this year. They could win a game. They could end up being Dame against Booker, MVP 1 against MVP 2 in a play-in game this weekend, which would be so exciting. Not as exciting. It's official. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 have canceled their football seasons. And I want to ask you about a player named Justin Fields, obviously star quarterback for Ohio State, will one day play on Sundays. But if you were Justin Fields, you're going to the NFL, and what if spring football became available to you? Would you play competitive football games that close to the impending NFL season?
See, the distinction is they didn't cancel it because that doesn't give you hope. They postponed it. So if I'm Justin Fields, I'm still operating under the infrastructure of Ohio State University. I'm getting the best training. I'm getting the best coaching. I'm getting the best doctors each day. And since so many conferences have or will continue to opt out of this season, it will not be a conventional champion. So therefore, the games will be more like exhibitions. So a player like him, to get more reps and to put up have an opportunity to play in big-time games while still in college, I would take that opportunity. I wouldn't do it to the point where it's a full collegiate season in the spring, because that's not going to happen anyway. And so don't be surprised if players like him, who's also tweeting about being disappointed that the season isn't happening, that he would be willing to play a couple of games to get under center and make some noise.
A segment where he decides what we discuss.
Woo!
It's called
Tang! Woo! Tang!
If you want to discuss the topic, say hit the brakes. If not, me and Method Man jump the minivan and keep it moving. And we start. I can't believe I'm saying this. President Trump has weighed in on LeBron versus Michael Jordan. On Fox Sports Radio, President Trump was asked who is the greatest of all time, and he said Michael Jordan because he wasn't political. Jalen, I don't even know what to say.
It's just head scratching how our commander in tweets tries to politicize everything. You know, whether somebody takes a knee before a football game and they should all be fired, you know, or whether we should stick to sports, or whether we should just shut up and dribble, and politics should be separate from sports. But yet he continues to tweet about it. And don't try to divide and conquer tactic. Michael Jordan had his period where he was the greatest basketball player of all time. And he lifted the personalities of people of color to the point where we could be marketable and mainstream. He elevated that. So, yes, at the time that he played, he was not about his social consciousness. But he's graduated. And as the owner of a team, he's doing that now. And he's putting his money where his mouth is. And we all know how 45 feels about LeBron James. So it's great to hear his opinion. Michael is the GOAT, but I'm not going for those same reasons.
That same Michael Jordan promised to donate $100 million to fight social injustice. And that same President Trump in that same interview said NBA players were nasty and dumb. That's all I have to say about that. Moving on. The Celtics beat the Memphis Grizzlies in a key loss for the Grizzlies. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes on this one.
The Grizzlies are 1-6 in the bubble. They had a large lead. They had all the opportunity in front of them to play their own way into at least the 8th seed in the playing game, and they blew it all. What happened? It can't just be Jaren Jackson Jr. going down.
It is. I mean, if you look at the dynamics of their squad, you lose your second best player, a young player. You start in the bubble with one of the toughest schedules, and you start out 0-3, and then he gets hurt. So they still had a promising season, a lot to celebrate. Ja Morant has shown that he's the real deal. Dylan Brooks also is going to be a great rotational piece for them moving forward. Valanciunas as a vet and the anchor, and Clark, a young athlete. So I like what they're doing in Memphis. And so there's no reason to be discouraged. But the intriguing play-in game has to be the Phoenix Suns and the Portland Trail Blazers. That's what it has to be. All basketball fans are rooting for Booker against Dame, and I really think that we are going to get it. But there's an outside chance the Spurs could slide in because they want to keep moving or hit the brakes. Spurs, go. I'm going to do something that Jacoby hates. Hit the brakes on the Spurs. Why we got to talk about the Spurs? You know they're not going to get to the playing game. You know that. You know that, Jalen. So this is going to be the last time we talk about the Spurs all year long. So go ahead. Go ahead. Celebrate Coach Pop. Because I love the excellence that the Spurs delivered over a 20-year period. And Pop has been the anchor, reinventing the squad from Tony, Manu, and Timmy to Kawhi Leonard. Now the young Bucks. You see them out there, Murray, White. Love Murray. They're going to be Walker. Lonnie. Lonnie Walker. Future. That's the future. Well, you see what needs to happen. And there's a reason that graphic is so long, because it ain't happening. You see all the things that need to fall in place, and that is not going to happen. Go Spurs, go home. Well, that's wrong. Two teams that probably have already booked their flights home, the Nets beat the Magic. Keep moving or hit the brakes. I'm just disappointed I couldn't see my brother Jamal Crawford really do his thing because he got injured. Yeah. Shout out to Karis LeVert. We'll see the Magic in the playoffs. Keep it moving. We keep it moving. We keep it moving. In obvious news, the Washington football team that is somehow still called the Washington football team announces there will be no fans at home games in 2020. Keep it moving. We keep it moving. We keep it moving. They didn't change their name because it was the right thing. They did it because it affected the money. Michael Irvin did something that sports television producers absolutely love. Keep it moving or hit the brake. Hit the brakes. He said that the Cowboys drafting CeeDee Lamb is like Kevin Durant joining the 73-win Warriors. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose? Oh, Big Irv is the OG. However, the Dallas Cowboys are not the Warriors. They didn't recently win 3 championships, and they don't have the Splash Brothers. The other thing is CeeDee Lamb is about to put in work. He is about to put in work. But KD shot down LeBron in the finals and won MVP 2 times in a row. Okay, he's Iceberg Slim shooting trays from the suburbs. And I know he'll like any Thoughts pitcher on IG, but don't get it twisted. He's an assassin when he's playing. So the Dallas Cowboys got a lot more work to do in order to get in that same conversation. If CeeDee Lamb is the Super Bowl MVP for the next 2 seasons, I will cut off my left pinky. I will cut off my left pinky. I'll cut off my left hand. Nah, these cameras work now. I'll cut off the whole hand. All right. If CeeDee Lamb is the MVP of the next 2 Super Bowls, the way Kevin Durant was the MVP of the NBA Finals. I ain't taking it that far. Jalen Rose and his haircut on NBA Countdown. There's a game between the Clippers and the Nuggets, who are currently the 2 and 3 seed and will likely stay that way. This is a playoff preview if they both make it to the second round. Do you think they will try extra hard knowing that they will potentially meet in the second round of the playoffs? I think the goal is to play your best basketball while you're in the bubble. And if you're the Denver Nuggets, you're continuing to develop young talent, in particular Michael Porter Jr. playing alongside the Joker. You want to get Murray back into the swing of things, and they have terrific depth. And if you're the Clippers, eventually you're going to work Montrezl Harrell back into the fold. You're trying to get Lou Will back going, and we know about Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and their importance to the team. So based on those 2 dynamics and both of those squads having long-term goals, you go out, you put your best lineups out there, and you try to win the game.
Jalen, that is some great NBA analysis based on your 13 years of experience in the NBA. However, I've got 3 decades of experience on these playgrounds, and we've got a video I want to show you where I step up and become the greatest pickup basketball analyst in the world. This is Big Mac. Notice he hasn't run yet. Just backing you down, dribbling out of bounds. No one's going to call him Big Mac. Bodies you, and then gets the layup without leaving the ground, and then screams at dude afterwards. What do you think about Big Mac? Do you think he'll get drafted in the league next year?
Rest in peace, Escalade. Mark Jackson's brother.
Legend.
That reminded me of watching him out there balling, putting in work. I miss my brother. And so big shout to the big fella out there putting on.
Jalen, there was a 5 overtime hockey game last night between the Lightning and the Blue Jackets. You said you had a lot to say about this one, but you don't have a lot of time, so celebrate it.
Well, I'm just really impressed that you can do all of this skating while navigating with the stick and the hockey puck and play that very long. It's really impressive. 5 overtimes. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
On ESPN2.
Dan Le Batard and Highly Questionable is next.